Um,
Thanks.
and I see that we also have Trey Sheldon from the planning department. Welcome, Trey.
Guys, happy Thanksgiving or pre-Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Trey. You too.
Thanks, you too.
All right, Mr. Holdhouse, are we expecting anyone else to join us here today, or is it just going to be you?
It's just going to be me.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started then. I need to read through our hearing script. This will cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get into it. This is the November 27th, 2024 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20240137. The purpose of the hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to weigh in after the applicant had presented its case. I'll hear from the planning department to provide anything in addition to their staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony offered in opposition, and then finally make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make comments. All right, last thing I need to do is just swear everyone in. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you could take yourself off mute, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. Mr. Holdhouse, are you ready to tell me about the project and what the relief is that you're requesting?
Sure.
Okay, floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Yep. So as Trey laid out in his report, which is really thorough and exactly what we were kind of looking for, we were asking for a variance on the number of monument signs placed around the property. We were asking for one additional sign. That sign is at the corner of, I'm sorry, bear with me here. It's at the corner of Burnet and Albert Sabin. And basically it's a sign, it's a curved sign that just allows identification by UC Blood Cancer Center at that corner. It's very much identical to the sign that Children's Hospital has just directly across the street. It's a set of channel letters that's mounted to the top of a mason wall, curved mason wall. The wall is curved in order to allow for visibility for traffic in every direction at that intersection, so as to not block visibility. The sign is, it's an aesthetic, or it's in kind of compliance with the rest of the property in terms of the aesthetic. It's not flashy or big. It's just for identification at that intersection right there. And then the second sign that we were asking for the variance on was just a dimensional variance, just being able to have a sign large enough or to be placed within 20 feet of the top of the building wall. This sign sits in an area lower on the building that it's kind of an area meant for some form of identification, but just due to the size of the sign itself and the wall itself, it's just being placed a little bit higher up on the wall in order to look like it's meant to be there. If we were to put it lower on the wall, it's going to look like an afterthought. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Holdhouse. It's actually the opposite way around, because it's not a wall sign; it's a building identification sign. So,
okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not high enough. It needs to be within 20 feet, and it's 25. I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm sorry. I said that. You're right. I said that backwards. Yes.
Of course.
Yes, exactly. So in order to put it in the place where we'd like to put it, it's just going to be just I think 5 feet outside of what is allowed, and so we're just asking for that additional elevation of the sign so that it looks appropriate on the wall.
Got it. And is that sign along Burnet Avenue there?
Yes, it is.
On a facade along Burnet Avenue? Is there not already a sign in that location, or is this an additional one?
That sign that's placed there right now is a temporary sign. that they had us,
Okay.
asked us to put into place for the time being
Got it. Okay.
for identification. They've already had a soft opening at the location.
Got it. Okay.
David,
So,
there is a sign, that's gonna be a permanent sign that's next to the door, a wall sign that's next to the entrance, but that's further down to the, like further down Burnet Avenue to the, south, next to the door. So there is a wall sign, and this is more of a building identification sign, but they can't, I could just wait until it's,
let me show you. Let me just tell you what I'm looking at here. Is this where the sign we're talking about, the proposed sign, is going to go? And Mr. Holdhouse, you're saying this is a temporary sign?
That is correct.
Okay, got it. All right. Is it, I mean, is it going to be a more or less, um,
Yes.
analogous to this
Yes, it is.
in terms of size and placement and everything?
Correct.
Okay.
since it's only
All
the,
right.
you want me to jump in at all, or do you just want, or
Yeah.
that's up to you, Mr. Hollis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Chair.
Part of what I discussed, and we had a little mix up with the potential of this not to be scheduled, and then it rescheduled, then it was, and so Emily Belmonte was not able to be here today. So in fairness to Mr. Holdhouse, he had to kind of jump onto this project to cover for her. So we kind of went through this with the folks from UC Blood Cancer Center, and also just from UC Health in general. So that sign, if you see that same elevation you were looking at, David, to put
Mhm.
it up higher is onto the part of the garage at a certain point. I mean, you have the gaps in the garage and so on, and this is where the Shriners Children's Burns Institute, the Burns Hospital for children, was previously, which was then acquired by the state and on behalf of UC Health. And so essentially the signage is going exactly back where the Shriners was, and it seems to make the most sense in that area right there. There is another wall. There's a difference in IR districts between wall signs and building identification signs. Building identification signs are larger than the allowable sign face area for a wall sign, and there is a smaller wall sign further down to the south proposed. But this is their main sign for that facade. They have signs on other on the south facing facade as well. You can see some of that from their overall site plan, which is on page, trying to see which page it is on my well, it looks like it's on page 3, but sign locator plan. And I actually called out on that sign locator plan, I called out the building identification sign, look in the numbers 1, 2, and 3 for the ground signs. So you can see that pretty well there. So you can see like on this, the same colored, if you look at that figure 3 over on the the south facing, the south facing facade there, that's a building identification sign too, but that is compliant in that it's within 20 feet of the roof.
Okay.
So this is the only building identification sign on the building that just doesn't fit where it would normally want to go up top. Because it would cover over like one of the gaps in one of the gaps in the garage. It doesn't make any common sense. So this is their main way of identifying themselves on that facade, which is the main side of the building. And to Mr. Holdhouse's point on sign number 3, that actually says University of Cincinnati on it rather than even the Blood Cancer Center. And in part, David, that's because they, of course, couldn't put the UC Health had no ability to put a sign at that intersection similar to the one on the opposite corner of Howard Sabin on the north, I guess northwest corner, where Children's Hospital does, which is a very similar sign. I think Children's one's actually bigger, but they didn't have the ability to do that, of course, David, before, because this was under different ownership. It was owned by the Shriners Burns, so they couldn't have had off-site signage on this. So because Albert Sabin Way kind of provides a conduit access into different parking garages and such for the overall UC Health campus, I think it's quite practical from a wayfinding standpoint that they identify basically their whole campus at this point. It's not just the Blood Cancer Center, but things further on in as you go in Albert Sabin Way and up into different parking garages and so on. So does that make sense? This is for like it's almost like a campus entry identification sign, if you will, saying, hey, you're here at the University of Cincinnati, health facilities. And then the building identification signs are the ones that, identify you. And there's a subsequent sign that on that thing is eliminated from the scope, but we're working through the plans with that for them, that shows you how to turn left off of Albert Sabin Way and access the garage there, which is part of the building. I think we're going to have a compliant sign there, and that was not part of the scope of this. But I'm just explaining that there are other ground signs. Basically, I direct you to parking and how to get around for the Blood Cancer Center, specifically to their garage, which is accessed from the back of the building, back or west side of the building, via Albert Sabin Way, and then that drive that goes through there. So I hope that helps explain why those signs specifically identify the Blood Cancer Center, whereas this monument sign at the corner identifies the overall kind of UC Health campus.
Sure.
It is.
Yeah, it does.
They did curve it. We discussed that. It's similar to the other sign. That helps them. They're back 16 feet or the 14. Basically, they meet the site triangle requirement as far as like not blocking visibility, which is an important component of zoning, something we really have never even offered a variance for. So, because that's public health, public safety issue. You can't block the view when the cars are turning. So, it was they worked with us well on that and scooch that thing back such that it does not block any visibility when you're turning either way from Sabin, or Albert Sabin, or from Burnet. So it seems quite reasonable in that regard for common sense, practical.
Sure. Okay. Anything else, Trey?
And obviously there's another property, right? One of the prongs of the variance test is that there's another property right similar in the neighborhood, and it couldn't be more proximal. It is literally right across Albert Sabin Way. Albert Sabin Way also offers you access on, if you go in Albert Sabin Way and hang a right and go north, you end up in into the various complex of the campus of Children's. So basically Albert Sabin Way is a conduit both into UC Health and into Children's. And so then it's essentially saying, hey, if you're coming in this way, everything to the left is UC and everything to the right is Children's once you come in there. So I think it's helpful wayfinding as far as wayfinding.
Sure. Okay. Thanks. Mr. Holdhouse, anything you want to say in response to Trey's comments or in closing or otherwise?
No, Trey, thank you very much for all your time. I know you and Emily were on the phone quite a bit while you were on vacation. I'm working through some stuff, so we really appreciate your time on this.
Yeah, I didn't want to, that was something that had been held up a little bit in the meetings, and everybody's hearings are important to them. But in this case, it's a blood cancer center. This is not somebody's tech, that's it.
Well, thank you.
Or trying to get treated, and they need that signage up soon so people can know where they're going when they're taking a loved one to a blood cancer center. That's pretty serious business. So
sure. Thank you very much.
All right.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone. I haven't had a chance to review the application materials. I was a little confused whether the signage was already up or not there. Just looking at that Google Street View. But regardless, I've reviewed the application materials. Based on that, the staff report and the testimony here today, I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I'll email it to Mr. Holdhouse and to Mr. Sheldon. As soon as you have that, Mr. Holdhouse, Mr. Sheldon can approve the zoning on his end, and you all can take the next steps.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right. Any questions about the process or anything else right now?
Nope.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, look for an email from me within a couple weeks. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, hope you have a good holiday, and we're adjourned.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving.
And
Thanks,
you are
everyone.
already in for permitting on this one. So as soon as that decision comes in, this was not a preliminary review, but I'll get this done as quickly as I can.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.